Well, a day after, we've seen scenes of utter chaos at airports around the country, especially at Delhi's T3 terminal. The wait times sometimes have got even longer than the flight duration itself. Yes, that's how bad it is. The government has stepped in now, but only after the scenes of congestion went viral. Two crucial meetings were held today. One, the parliamentary panel on transport met a top official of the Delhi Airport Authority, or the DIAL. The CEO of DIAL had been summoned, but he skipped the meeting. DIAL was represented by their group deputy MD instead. The members of the Parliamentary Standing Committee were unhappy at this no-show. The second key meeting was held between the Civil Aviation Ministry Secretary, senior officers of the Delhi International Airport Limited, DGCISF, Airport Authority of India, and senior officers of the Immigration Department. Remember, the Home Ministry had called for this meeting to sort out how to declog congestion at security and at the immigration checkpoints at airports. Let me go across to my colleagues. I'm hoping to be joined by Abhishek and Dharani. Is Dharani with us? Okay, let me go across to Dharani from Chennai first. Yes, Dharani, if you can tell us, what is it like after we have been extensively reporting day in and day out that the government needs to do something about it. Some amount of movement has happened in terms of meetings now taking place to brainstorm on ideas to ease out the commotion. What is it like in Chennai? What are people majorly complaining about?
Well, of course, meeting after meeting is currently underway about this, congestion issue. And as far as Chennai is concerned, normally, Chennai is not as chaotic as, Mumbai or Delhi. But of course, Chennai is also having, a congestion to a considerable extent. So, in fact, we are not allowed to talk to the passengers here. So, in fact, we had to get permission to do a live itself in the first place. So, we have not been given permission to talk to the passengers. And that is why, we are just restricting ourselves to, just standing area. So when we tried, getting opinions from several passengers, from 15 to 20 people, 4 to 5 of them told me that they had to wait 45 minutes to almost 1 hour extra than usual during today's travel. That is what they told. But the rest 10 passengers, almost 10 passengers, told that their travel was comfortable and that it is as usual. But of course, some people, maybe some 25 to 30% of the people I spoke to, they are reporting congestion, and they are telling that it took almost 45 minutes to 1 hour for them, extra than usual to come out of the airport, in the arrival
Entry
exit
is more
gate.
of a problem.
So,
the exits more or less have been smooth. Let me also get in Abhishek from Mumbai to tell us what it is like. Yes, Abhishek, over to you. Take us through the major concerns there at the Mumbai airport.
See, as far as Mumbai airport is concerned, you can see behind me, the operations are working very smooth since morning. And as far as, the latest advisory issued by the Mumbai airport for the passengers, domestic passengers should arrive and as well as we see the international passengers should come before in advance 3.5 hours, and that is something working out smooth since morning. In fact, Digi Yatra is a mobile app which will be launched soon. That will be online, hassle-free, right from registration to boarding will be all online, is something that is being focused on. And since morning, operations are quite well out here in the city of Mumbai and in the Mumbai airport, and all that chaotic situation that people and the passengers witnessed 2 to 3 days ago are not right now, and currently all the operations are smooth. And you can again, I would like to see, passengers are boarding their flight accordingly, and things are working very much smooth out here. You can clearly see no long queues or any chaotic situation over here. And as far as the instructions clearly given by the Civil Aviation Ministry, these are being followed. And importantly, Mumbai Airport, along with the Ministry of Civil Aviation, will be bringing up the Digi Yatra app, which will again smoothen the operations on ground.
Yes, thanks very much, Abhishek, for joining us. Now, why this congestion and why the sudden spurt in the footfall? That is something we will talk about, as well as solutions and measures that are being taken But before that, let me get a perspective on what the Civil Aviation Ministry, the airport management is currently up to. My colleague Madhav joins us to tell us more about the meetings that were held today. Yes, Madhav, over to you if you can update us on how the administration per se that looks after civil aviation in this country is working at this point to solve the problems.
Well, two very important meetings. One at the level of the Ministry of Home Affairs that was held, and this is where the Immigration Department, which comes under the Union Home Ministry, its role also has come under the scanner, because there were huge lines at immigration counters as well that have been reported not just in Delhi but at other airports as well. And therefore, in fact, it is very important at that level to sort out the problems of infrastructure, of availability of staff and counters, to ensure that waiting time for passengers is the very minimum at these counters. And that's why that meeting was very important. But most importantly, today was the day when the CEO of Delhi International Airport was expected to appear before the Parliamentary Committee for Transport, for Tourism and Culture. And that particular meeting, while the CEO couldn't make it, it was the Deputy MD of the GMR Group, we understand, Mr. N. Rao, who actually attended that meeting. Members of Parliament expressed their dissatisfaction with why, in fact, the CEO was not present. They were told that he was out of the country, to which members said they should have been informed before. But at least on 2 or 3 important points, the 3.5 hour waiting that is there at airports is something that members asked, in fact, the management about. They said that it was not issued by them, but that 3.5 hour advisory was issued by airlines. They also said that they did not expect such a huge surge of passengers to come into the airport post-COVID, and that's why they are making arrangements now on a war footing. There's also the third aspect of arrival gates or the arrival terminal, not passenger vehicles, private vehicles not being allowed over there, and passengers having to walk all the way from the arrival terminal right up to the multi-story parking building, which of course not just involved long walks, but also the fact that they had to pay hefty parking fees. Now all of this is questions that the DIL was asked. They said that this is an arrangement to decongest the airport. However, they said that since this has been in place for a long time, congestion could clearly not be the argument for it. So various aspects that members have quizzed DIL and the Delhi Airport management on, and this is of course very important from the long-term perspective. It's not just the current congestion that in fact a lot of questions have been asked about. It's also about the long-term planning as far as the airport is concerned. So a lot of tough questions coming in the way of DIL from the members of Parliament, who very clearly appear to have grilled those officials. And it's not just DIL, there were other airport officials also who were present at that particular meeting, but clearly the focus, all eyes on the Delhi airport, which has been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons in terms of passenger difficulties and passenger woes that have only been piling up by the day. Yes, action has been taken by certain wings of the government. There may have been some amount of easing as far as the passenger difficulties are concerned, but a lot that still needs to be done is very clearly the message going out from the members of Parliament who are part of that parliamentary panel.
Yes, let's put out the breaking news information, Madhav, that you've just shared with us for our viewers to understand this. Amid 2 key meets today on the decluttering of India's airport, DIAL or Delhi's Airport Authority was pulled up for several issues. According to sources, DIAL was pulled up for not allowing vehicles towards the terminal arrival gate and was asked to end this practice immediately. Currently, passengers who arrive at T3 have to walk to the multi-level parking and then board the vehicle. Members also expressed disappointment with the DIAL CEO's absence at the meeting. Madhav, I want to ask you on this particular point, the fact that DIAL CEO chose to give it a miss, I mean, that is something shocking in a way, isn't it? At a time like this, when his full attention is required in resolving issues, the person who actually heads DIL chooses not to attend this meeting?
Well, the timing of it certainly does raise serious questions, but the DIL has very clearly explained to the committee, and in fact, I've been speaking to the management as well. They've said that this was a pre-planned travel and the CEO was abroad. He was not in the country, and that's perhaps the reason why he could not attend this meeting, which was called at a rather short notice of just 3 days. That's the explanation coming from there. Nevertheless, the parliamentary panel has in fact retorted to that, saying that if that was indeed the case, they should have responded so in writing and informed before the actual meeting took place, rather than waiting to arrive at that meeting and then give an explanation. That's as far as the parliamentary committee meeting is concerned. But 3 or 4 very important points coming out of this. Why there is a 3.5 hour wait time that has been given. Remember, this is even more or perhaps almost equal to the 4 hour time that is normally given for international travel. Just imagine that if domestic passengers have to come so much much in advance. And if you're catching a 3-hour flight, it means that you almost have to, and the time taken to travel to the airport inclusive, you would be spending about 8 or 9 hours just for a direct connecting flight to another part of the country. And that kind of time frame is perhaps something that many passengers would find very difficult. There could be senior citizens, there could be children, there could be patients who are not well. All of them would have to actually go through this kind of a long time frame. So questions were asked about this time frame. DIL has clarified that it's not them, but the airlines which have put out that particular time frame, and that they are doing everything on a war footing to ensure that the increased passenger load that the aircraft terminals are having to face at this point of time, the airport terminals are having to face at this point of time, is eased at the very earliest. And also the very important aspect of the walk, the long walk that passengers now have to make from the arrival terminal right up to the multi-story car parking, which really, of course, is something that is unheard of and unseen, at least in any airport in India. There may be similar arrangements in other airports across the world, but certainly in this particular case, it was very suddenly that private vehicles which were allowed right up to the arrival terminal were not allowed one fine day a few months ago, and passengers were asked to walk all the way to the parking, that has been put in place. While DIL says that that is to avoid congestion, members of parliament have clearly asked DIL to do away with it. They've said that if they expect passengers, they should have at least to walk such a long distance, they should have provided carts for them to be able to traverse that distance. And this is certainly causing a huge amount of concern. They've asked them to allow private vehicles once again as far as the arrival terminal is concerned. So a lot of such questions that have come the way of DIL from the members of parliament.
Yes, the travelers, the passengers are inconvenienced at every level, and therefore we are taking it up as we are right now on this channel. Madhav, thanks very much for joining us, to actually question the authorities, excuse me, why this is not being done on priority. Travelers are still dealing with the airport mess. Madhav, thank you so much for giving us all the latest. The chaos and the commotion has crippled airports. Let me go across to our guests, our panelists joining us here this evening. Mr. G.S. Bava, former General Manager, Public Relations, Airport Authority of India. Mr. Sarosh Damania, I beg your pardon, Professor Sriram Khanna, who's the editor of Consumer Voice magazine, and also Captain Amidst, founder of Safety Matters, joining us here on the program. Very good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me here on the program. Now, this is a very serious issue at multiple levels. We know that there are several agencies involved, GS Bava, in resolving it, and there is a tendency to shift responsibility from one to the other. The airport management would blame the ministry often again puts the onus on the airline. So, in all of this, it's the passenger that is bearing the brunt. You heard my colleague talk about how passengers are even made to walk a certain distance to enter the airport. All of this adds to their travel time. Time is money today, sir.
Yes, you rightly said. Whenever you are riding a cart which has got more than one horse, it is difficult to manage. And airports are roughly having 20 plus regulatory 4 or 5 agencies, and very difficult to manage. But I must flag, this is one instance or case where the media has befittingly sensitized everybody concerned. And Minister himself has visited the airport, and that has put a lot of things into place. The beans which were scattered, I understand they would have come, and that is why the results are seen on the ground. They have come under one umbrella. Yes. One umbrella. And then airports, no one should miss flights at the airport. No one comes to stand in queues at the airport. And there are some solutions. There are some procedural issues which needs to be addressed and tackled. And if you want me to elaborate, if you give me that time, I must mention that the solution lies in adding infrastructure, or solution lies in augmenting the manpower. Okay. And we cannot add the infrastructure immediately. We can certainly augment the manpower. Okay. And then we have to synergize the systems, the procedure and processes. And then the technology is the boss today. Technology is the future, going to the future boss also. And the DigiYatra is a clear demonstration that the government has really mandated that they are going to come. So we must now have enabling technology. Technology is the mantra. Once we say DigiYatra will take care of all those things. And I understand once you are having a DigiYatra, everything and the all processing will have a time monitoring. You will be able to know your time consumed and your expected time at your apps. Such kind of infrastructures are already available abroad. Other day, I was on a channel, somebody was referring to Changi. Changi, yes, we shall always try to emulate that system, but then the solution lies in efficient and effective monitoring. And if you
Efficient,
permit me,
effective monitoring, better technology, augmenting manpower, important solutions suggested. Professor Sriram Khanna, as a consumer voice, if I can ask you here that, when we hear of these solutions, we of course understand that these may not all be short-term and immediate ones. Most of them are actually long-haul processes. Immediately, what do you reckon? What do you envisage from the government of the day? Do you think that something that even can be done to ease out matters for the passenger is not being done when you see those serpentine queues, when you see the chaos in the airports? What, according to you, is going wrong?
You see, if somebody has to spend 3 to 4 hours just to catch a flight, it's a really sorry state of affairs. But I can see that those who are running the airports and the facilities and the airlines, they are running behind the market. The market has overtaken their expectations, which means really they didn't expect so many people to turn up and take flights, especially after the COVID season. A few months back, the number of passengers that took to the skies from the Indian airports exceeded the pre-COVID levels. And now it is exceeding even the post-COVID levels. So we are looking at a growing civil aviation market, and the infrastructure in the country, particularly the Delhi airport, is not adequate to hold that huge growth. The air passenger traffic is growing by double digits. And when it grows at double digits, everything doubles in 6 to 7 years. So if passenger numbers are doubling 6 to 7 years, is the infrastructure doubling? No. Well, Delhi, at least we know that the Jewar airport will come up, and in a few years' time, Delhi will be able to catch up. The NCR will be able to catch up.
No,
But
hang on. I will just put out the figures for our viewers. I just need to put out, since you mentioned the volume increase in volume and footfall. Let's put that out for our viewers, since we did some digging of data and we found that, yes, Delhi, the 10th busiest airport in the world, passenger traffic in 2021 was 37.14 million. That is up from 28.5 million in 2020. Now, this is a 30% increase from the year 2020. If you look at Mumbai, passenger traffic in 2021 is 19.8 million. It was at 16.3 million, and that's a 21% increase. Bangalore Airport, passenger traffic 2021, 16.07 million from 2020, where it was 13.5, 19% increase. Now, at this point of time, of course, now we are in 2022, and if we go by this volume of increase, Captain Amidst, if I can bring you into the conversation, there should have been some forward planning that this is the kind of quantum increase that we may witness. Do you see a sheer lack of ability and forward planning to understand how systems should be equipped to handle the post-COVID scenario, given that this country has the festival season, the religious travel, all happening at the same time, the wedding season as well?
Well, yes, everybody is aware of the numbers, pre-COVID and post-COVID. Unfortunately, there is no coordination committee. Everything comes under what ICAO says, the UN regulator says, facilitation. So somebody in the ministry of a joint secretary level is supposed to facilitate the whole process, which means, as Baba sir said, that there are so many agencies involved. So there is one person in the ministry who's supposed to coordinate and take decisions. Right now, that is not happening. And that is what we saw during the COVID time, when immigration, custom, health, everybody got together under the ministry's umbrella, and decisions were taken, SOPs were made. Now, World Economic Forum in 2018 had issued a paper on known traveler digital identity, which is the future, has to be rolled out in 2030. So have we missed that bus? They have said that passenger traffic will grow 50% in the next decade. Everybody knew about it. DIAL engaged IIT Delhi in February 2022 for the same purpose, that how to manage the passengers and the growth. In October October 10th, the minister tweeted, and the Prime Minister further quoted the minister, that we have almost reached the pre-COVID levels of 4 lakh passengers per day. So right now we are sitting at 4.28 lakhs. So if the minister comes out and says in the media that no one anticipated this, I am sorry, but this was on the face. If in September you had 4 lakh passengers, this is the peak travel time. It had to increase, but there was no coordination. So the future is technology. Everybody knows that immigration is an issue, security is an issue. All the pain points are aware, but somebody has to coordinate, like DIAL has to take steps to procure the equipment, CT scanners, which are 3D scanners, which virtually unpack your baggage. You don't have to take out electronics or any liquids. So that speeds up the process and the flow rate.
Interesting. And I was looking at your tweet, Captain Singh. What you have done is you have quoted the Civil Aviation Minister and how he was, in a way, celebrating the fact that the passenger number, the daily passenger mark has reached 4 lakh in October 10th. Little did he know that this will come back to haunt him perhaps the moment we hit December, because if the numbers were bound to increase further, and if it does, we didn't have the wherewithal to deal with it. But now, talking of the solutions that were suggested by Mr. Bawa as well, quick word from you on what are the top 3 things that needs to be done immediately. Captain Singh, you first.
Shall I come first?
No, let me. Okay, go ahead. Mr. Bawa, go ahead. I'll take the same. I'll do the round with all 3 of you. Go ahead, sir.
I saw one of the slide which mentioned 4 choking points. Taking them one by one, I said that one of the choking points is entry gate. You rightly mentioned. And as if I am able to remember and recollect the situation of the entry gate, that each entry gate has got 2 entries, one on right, one on left. The staff is standing to permit you. One is ideally used as a standby, which is used for protocol purposes or as a reliever to the one. Though both the entries shall be used for some time immediately in parallel, and their standby used be behind them or somewhere else. And we know the process of queue manager. We should appoint the queue manager at all the queues at the airport, and mid-term queue management shall be done. That, for example, at the entry gate, someone should start every 10th passenger.
Queue management. I just have a minute on the conversation. Let's make it quick. Yes, Professor Sriram Khanna, your solution for this mess that we are seeing, an immediate solution that you can think of.
You see what the gentleman has just mentioned about queue management. If you want to understand how Indians queue up, you have to just go to a suburban bus service in Delhi or Mumbai. The moment the bus comes, the queue is broken and people jump in. So we are not really disciplined as queue people.
Okay, that's a good point. We need discipline. We need to take some responsibility.
The airport has enough doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. No, I just have to make it quick because I'm running out of time on the conversation.
And also we need to make sure...
Finish your point. Yes, sir.
That the airport must be able to project its future traffic. How many passengers are booked in the next 7 days? How are we short on any point? And the point has been mentioned about augmenting human service.
Okay.
You have choke points in immigration. You have choke points in security clearance. You need equipment. All those things have to be done.
They have been identified, but now we need solutions. The choke points are identified. What is clogging has been identified. But what we need from here on is forward planning.
The last thing I would like to say.
Yes, quickly, sir.
Yes, I must also tell you that the problems we are facing in 2022 are nothing compared to what we will face in the next 5 years, because the market is growing 10 to 15% every year, and particular airports will face congestion and peak travel season.
There is an expansion, Captain Amidst Singh. There is an expansion which is happening, and that has also added to our woes. But you're talking about increasing infrastructure. The fact that Delhi Terminal 3 is the only operational one right now is adding to the volume of passengers. Captain Amidst Singh, how do we deal with that? We have to expand. There are airport terminals under construction.
Yeah, we are slightly behind the schedule. But before I come to the point, I must add that we are at a choking point but we can be subject to severe choking due to fog. This is the fog season, and once flights get delayed or held up due to fog, you'll have a terminal full of passengers and another few thousand waiting outside in tents or in the cold. So we need to cater for that also. That is the future planning.
Absolutely. Very good point there. We must be empathetic to the fact that this is a peak winter season in many cities. It's going to be fogging out there, and let's think about people standing in the queues for long hours. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me here on the conversation and sharing some very important ideas and inputs on how we can resolve the airport chaos issue. Let's take a short break.